Welcome to episode 520 of Salsidoparanormal. And tonight I am talking to a listener. It's another listener experiences episode of the show. As always, you can find all episodes of the show along with links to social media and other ways to contact me at the podcast page. And that is salsidoparanormal.podbean.com. That's SALSIDO paranormal.podbean.com. Always happy to hear from you all, whether you have comments or questions or topic suggestions or stories of paranormal experiences, whether they're your own, or from others that you trust. Happy to either read those or have you join me on the show to talk about them, just as we're doing tonight. Thank you all for listening, whether you are here for the live streams on Discord, or if you listen to the podcast or YouTube feeds, or on the Troubled Minds Radio Network, KUAP Digital Broadcasting. There you can hear replays of 2 episodes of the show every night at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, right before Troubled Minds Radio comes on. As always, I want to thank Michael Strange, host of Troubled Minds Radio, as well as Liam Martin, host of the Eggs on Minds podcast, for producing the shows and putting them up on the station, along with all the music that you hear. And if you'd like to support the show, there are some different ways to do that. You can always share the show with others and rate and review the podcast on your platform of choice there. Also, you can find paranormal fiction and nonfiction books that I've written over on Amazon. You can also join the Patreon page, where I will be putting out 1 extra true paranormal stories from the web episode per month, starting this month, probably in a week or so at the latest. Or you can just make a one-time donation through PayPal. Again, I apologize for not having other options, but that is due to my low vision and other technical difficulties I've had before with other platforms. Help is never expected, but always appreciated, as there are expenses in making these shows, from research materials to equipment to travel expenses in some cases. And so, yeah, let me see here. I think that covers everything. Always glad to be here doing these shows. Listener experiencer shows are my favorite. Some of my favorite ones to do, because that's the whole point of this show in a way, is to let everyone know that no one is alone if you've had any kind of an odd experience. And so, myself included. I mean, I've made whole episodes of the show, talking about all my different experiences, and they come up again and again when in doing these shows, because of other experiences that are similar. So looking forward to this, and in a moment here, let me see here. I just gotta look at this and make sure I do this right. I'm going to invite a friend on here. Just met him a little while back, and he recently volunteered to be on the show. So let me click on this, and we'll see if this works. Hold on one second. Here we go. Clicked on it, and hopefully I'll be able to hear you there, Jeff, in a moment. And we'll go from there.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome onto the show. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me on.
So, thank you again for being here and listening. I'm really grateful that you were able to do this just the night after you volunteered, because scheduling these shows is not always easy with guests and everything. Everyone is busy, and so
right on. Well, I didn't have a whole lot going on, and all this stuff is in my brain. So, here we are.
Yeah. A funny story about scheduling, just real quick. I did a show a while back. I used to try to do roundtable shows here and there, and I did one with three different people. Actually, it ended up being 2, but I had 3 people in mind, and every one of us lives in a different time zone, and so it's pretty tricky trying to set that up, because we had to deal with the getting the numbers right and finding the right time for us all to do it, and it was. I'm glad we were able to do it at all. So, but anyway, yeah, if you want to go right ahead into your experiences and share whatever you want to, and you can you don't have to put any details you don't want to, just whatever you feel comfortable talking about.
Yeah, no, So I guess this is little. One of I had a couple experiences, I guess, in mind that I was probably going to share, like that just, were kind of boggling, over my life, we'll say. So just a little background. I'm 45 years old. So I bet, that Gen X, like later Gen Xer. So grew up, through the 80s and all this and that, but it was in the, you know, I, I guess growing up, having Star Wars and ET and all those movies and such, but I wasn't never really like, I mean, I like the Star Wars and stuff like that, but I wasn't never like really into like the whole UFO thing. I didn't think anything of it. A small town where I grew up out in the middle of pretty much nowhere in Wisconsin, right? So um, the one experience, I'm gonna go to the one experience first. That was like later in my life, right? That was 100% for sure. Like, what the heck, that this happened. The other one was questionable. It could have been a dream, and I was pretty little. So,
Mm-hmm.
so the first thing, um, it's just just to get it out there. It's a UFO experience. Okay, so, um, but I was probably around 14 years old, so I'm gonna say like 93, 94, something like that. Um, and it was a it was like a fall night. It was a game on, and a high school basketball game. Me and my friend were watching a game, and we were at the thing with my parents, and he was gonna stay over at night at my house. I grew up out in the country, right? Like, so we're talking northern Wisconsin, and I was like out there on this like small 40-acre lake. Okay. And so the reason the game is irrelevant is because the news crew was there that night, like the TV news crew was at the basketball game. So of course we're all like excited, like, hey, did we get on TV? So riding home with my parents and then rushing home, running inside to turn the news on to see if we were on. And first thing was on was the weather, and the meteorologist is talking about the meteor shower that's going to be coming on that night, and we're about to see like 100 meteors an hour. And I'm like, all right, let's go out. Let's go outside, Brandon. Let's go. So I lived on this little lake, and we had these two little piers with like a boat on each one. And so he was on one, I was on the other one, and we were just like watching these meteor shower, and it was pretty extravagant. There was a lot of meteors. It was ridiculous. I mean, we did probably see hundreds of them, and
Wow.
yeah, it was pretty amazing. Where I lived, there was like no light pollution. I mean, it was out in the north country, so there was like the view was great. So I'm like, just we're looking, enjoying this all, whatever. I'm like looking to the left of where I was looking, and I just kind of pan back to the right, and right above me is this. I don't. It's going to be hard. Hard to explain, kind of, but if you could put it together. So imagine a triangular shaped something. Okay. So it's three circles at the points of the triangles. Okay.
Right.
And then there's one circle in the middle, and like solid circles, and orange, like glowing orange, like a magnificent, like high definition, like lava. I can't explain it. It was like just high definition, right? Like just the most magnificent orange I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
And then the the points of the circles, the ones that are at the points, were like connected too, with like an orange line similar to the same color, which at the time I'm like, what the hell is, like, what is a weird UFO, whatever. But I think like later in life I figured out that was probably just like the light signature catching off the edge, that was probably the edge of the bottom of the craft. So
Right.
well, I can't tell you how big it was because it was just up there, right? It was silent. There was no noise. It was just sitting above me, and I was like, "What the heck is that?" And it was probably there for about 3 seconds, and then it just shot across the sky. I mean, faster than it left the light that like same magnificent orange trail. Like it left that same light of trail behind it, and that light trail sat there for like 2 seconds.
Wow. Yeah.
And it wasn't like a fireball; it was like a streak of light. Just, and I was like, I'm like 13, 14 years old. I'm like, what the heck was that? And I'm like, okay, we're not alone. You know what I mean? That was my first thought. Like, we're definitely not alone. That was definitely a craft that I just saw. So I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know above it because it was like I said, I was right below it. It was above me, but that was significant because I'm like teenager, not like really, you know, just going about the business of just whatever the heck we do as humans, right? Or whatever as a kid. And then I
Yeah.
seen that, and now I'm like, okay, that's like we're not alone. But then I honestly I expected to I expected other people to have seen it, or you know what I mean, or something,
Yeah. Yep.
or see other people to or something like that. But my friend that was with me, he didn't see it. He
Oh.
he did not see it, and I was like, how did heck did you not see that? Like that was like the most relevant thing. You know what I mean? It was super bright. It was like, you know what I mean? It was just there. I mean,
Yeah.
like amazing, like absolutely amazing. Like I was just blown away, and as a kid, and ever since then, I'm just like how is that not a big like? I know people have seen this, but so I've done research and looking into this, like like all this UFO stuff, right? I mean, for ever since then. So, um, it's just kind of like it's a it
Yeah.
just yeah, I guess I've always questioned like what the heck was that? Like what you know? I mean, I know what it was. You could say UFO, but I wouldn't even call it UFO. Like I seen it, and I'm like, that's a freaking alien spacecraft. Like that's what that was. I identified that. I just still couldn't see who it was or what what I mean or anything like that. So it
Yeah. And the
it
fact
was
that,
that clear.
yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Oh god.
I was just gonna say the fact that no one else saw it, that happens in so many experiences where someone will see it, another person right by them won't, or people will see different things. And that, especially when that happens to me, that always makes me lean toward it being more than just a craft that humans made. When
Hmm.
when different people are seeing different things, whether it's not seeing anything at all or seeing something different, um, that to me makes it seem like that's not something that humans made on their own, at least anyway. And so those kinds of sightings, like yours and so many others similar like that, to me are amazing because of that.
And I totally agree because like that I looked into. Yeah, I remember like just going about researching, looking and reading and finding videos and whatever. I ended up finding something similar, you know, and what was similar was stuff that we apparently make or have or whatever. You know what I don't know, whatever we make
Right.
or whatever. It's like a TRB3 or something. Okay,
Yeah.
craft, and it's apparently a thing, and it's like a triangular. And I've seen videos of these alleged things, right? But every video that I've ever seen, it's like kind of like floating by, you know what I mean? Slowly moving across and not really doing anything else.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like this thing was like completely stationary and then completely gone in a split second. Like, you know what I mean? Like when it left, like it was just gone. And I'm I I was 13 maybe years old and not like as intelligent as I am now, obviously. But even then I knew like we're not alone. Like that was not, like that's not possible. Like what,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, definitely. The orange lights, that's amazing. I feel like I haven't heard a ton about orange lights on craft. I've heard more about, I don't know, like white or red.
Mm.
But I could be wrong. I haven't looked as much into the UFO sightings as I have more of the ghost things, just because of my own personal experiences. But definitely, I mean, obviously the triangular thing is common, um, and then the way they can be stationary and also silent, it's fairly common as well. So that's amazing. And I wonder if there was if there was connected to the meteor showers, if there was some significance or connection, if they were there because of that, or what was going on there. I can't think of any stories I've heard of where that was going on, and then there was also UFO sighted at the same time.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I tell you what, I've been, ever since. Anytime there's a meteor shower in the fall time, I'm out there, like trying to, see what the heck. Because I've kind of felt like that same thing too. Like what, maybe it was just because it just brought me out there, and I just happened to be looking up,
Right.
co- you know, right time, right place, or whatever thing. But I look, it was amazing and like completely happened, and it was like, what? Okay, we're not alone. I, so ever since that age, I was just like baffled, and then I've told people, I tell people the story, I've told my friend, like anybody, and it seems like for the most part, nobody's not believed me. Like most people like believe, like that I saw it because I have no reason to make it up. And
Right.
so, but then it's just the end of it. You know what I mean? It's just that. And it's like, well, and then you see all these like UFO, other like encounter, like stories and such, like, and then just like people don't seem to care too much, I guess. I don't know, like I feel like it should be a bigger deal, but I don't know. This is me. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I agree. I do agree. I think I mean, part of that is just the stigma where there's just, even if people don't say that they don't believe you, or even if they do believe you, they might not totally believe that it's what you thought it was. And so there's a stigma, and that's definitely the thing. Do you have a question? We have a question here in the chat here from Derek. Welcome, Derek, and hello everyone that's here listening as well. Um, Derek, the Night Stalker, Stocker, asks, where do you lean as far as what they are? And so craft or some weird orb phenomena in the sky, something to do with consciousness. Uh,
Um,
Never mind if you already
I,
mentioned it, he says.
no, I'll gladly explain. I believe 100% that it was a craft, and like it just what I seen was the bottom of the craft, and that's what like I don't know if you would call it propulsion or whatever the heck, you know what I mean? That glowing part of it is what levitated it or whatever, you know what I mean? And
Right.
well, it was up there. So the one thing that I'm like that I've always been like, man, if I would have looked back maybe like a second sooner, I could have seen it phase in or come into play, would have been amazing, right?
Yeah.
But I didn't.
Yeah.
I was like totally looking a different way, and then I just panned back to the right, and it was just right there. It was just there. I'm like, what the heck is that? And all of a sudden, just boom across the sky. It made no noise at all, even when it like went.
Right.
So I questioned even to this day, like, was it humongous and like out of the Earth atmosphere? You know what I mean? Or was
Yeah.
it like smaller in the Earth's atmosphere? I could not tell you. You know what I mean? I have no idea because it was just up there. You know, I would imagine it was in Earth's atmosphere because it like kind of disappeared. Because the lake I lived on, there was like a, I wouldn't have seen like the natural horizon. It would, it was trees and such. So like it went that,
Hmm.
as far as the trees could, then I couldn't see it no more. So, but that
Yeah.
whole like streak stayed there for like a good 3 seconds, 2 to 3 seconds. It was just like that fast. I'm like, was that faster than light speed? Like what is this? What did I just see?
Yeah. I mean, because how often do you see that in fiction with spaceships of different kinds? You see that light trail that they give off when they go. So that is common. I mean, I do think strange kinds of energy can still be part of craft, and still be there. So also PDG in the chat says, I always think you see what you are supposed to see. It was meant for you, which is always possible as well.
Mm.
Um, yeah, definitely.
Which is why my friend didn't see it. And I mean, who knows? Maybe he was dozing off for all we know, like bored out of his mind. You know what I mean? I was like into it, but it just blew my mind. Like I even questioned like him. I'm like, there's like, is he like real? Like, is he messing with me? Did he get abducted and he doesn't want to talk about it? Like, what happened here? Like, how did he not see this? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
did he? I've yeah, I actually asked him like, maybe like a year ago. I contacted him or we were just talking, whatever. And I asked him about it and he's like, yeah, I did not see it. He's like, I remember the day specifically and you seeing something, but I never saw it. I'm like, fair enough.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yep. That's yeah, no, it is a thing. It's the way that that they can appear. I mean, in the size thing, you're right. It's when you have something that's in the sky, I've heard that from other people, even people that not so much like pilots, but also just people in general say it's really hard to judge with these things, where they're at or how far away they are, and because of that, how big they are. Derek in the chat asks, are you also open to the idea of seeing aliens?
Oh, my buddy.
Maybe not ready to see it, or can't, or
Yeah,
can't.
yeah. Like
Oh,
I
I'm
pondered that
sorry.
as well.
He
No,
meant your friend. I'm sorry.
yeah,
Uh,
I seen
yeah,
that. I kind of knew what he meant, but yeah, like that's I pondered that too. Like like maybe he just doesn't like want to talk about it, or because it wasn't, like I said, it was the early '90s, and I guess if I would have been out there just like telling everybody that I seen a UFO, I would have been like that crazy kid, or whatever. Yeah, I guess so.
yeah. It's hard. I mean, even I'm guessing that he's a friend of yours, so he's not going to lie about it. So that's good. But I mean, there are people that these things, it does change them. It does make them not want to be connected to any of this at all. And
Right.
I've heard accounts of multiple people that had an experience, and they had the same experience at the time, and the multiple people confirmed it. But then years later, no, I didn't. That didn't happen. I didn't see or hear that, or that didn't happen, and stop talking about it. So that's definitely a pattern I've heard of before.
Mhm. Didn't the like Rendlesham, one of the Rendlesham stories, or where the guy like touched the craft, and was that Rendlesham?
I believe so. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, he like touched the craft, but then the guy he was with didn't like remember any of that like happening, or I think so.
yep, yeah.
Both
And
had.
time supposedly passed differently for them. I heard at one point as well. Um, I may need to do a series of shows on famous UFO sites at some or experiences at some point. There are a series of shows just to get that kind of covered in the archives. Maybe I'll do that at some point. But yeah, I mean, there's so many of those encounters, it seems, and when it's military, that always, uh, even the less famous ones, if you go online and look around for, you can find, and I've shared a few here and there, um, stories of experiences people have had while they're in the military, and they can't explain it, and that's someone that's trained to observe things and all that. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's really amazing. I've seen a blue light, and one time a couple of blue lights, but I have never seen a craft. But then again, I'm legally blind, so I don't really expect to. But I've definitely seen the lights and felt presences from them. So, but yeah, it is different. It's seeing a craft, but then also having an experience with entities. That's two different levels of things as well. So, um,
Mm.
yeah, I don't know if I want to do a face to face, especially after having my own possible abduction experience. So I've talked about
Ooh.
that before in shows as well. Yeah, so
Oh,
I can
so
go over that real quick if you want to hear about it. Maybe I don't know.
I would love to because it will kind of lead into my next experience too, probably. So
Nah,
you know,
okay.
yeah.
Well, for all my listeners that have been around for a while, I hope you all don't mind. But these things, that's what happens. These when people talk and we share all these experiences. Sometimes things have to be repeated. Um, so yeah, I think and I think it was about 10 years ago, around there. But I was sleeping on. I had a couch at the time in my living room, and I was sleeping on that. And now I've just brought my bed in here, so I just have a bed instead. But and so I fell asleep late one night. I don't know what time it was, and I I opened my eyes because I could feel that I was not on my couch. It was not a soft surface beneath me, and felt like it was hard and smooth. Definitely not a couch. And I was still laying down, and so but I looked around and I was in a room, and the walls were blue, and there were these white cabinets or shelves that were built into the walls in a couple places, and they had like electronics in them, almost like they were electronics, but no screens, no monitors, just like hardware systems or whatever. And there were these three figures that were moving around me, and I could barely see them at all. All I could see were three blurs, and they were gray blurs. And I also could not move except for my eyes. So I was trying to move because I didn't like that I couldn't move, and these three figures were moving around me. And I looked up and I could to see what the ceiling looked like because I was just trying to move. And I couldn't either. The ceiling was all like one massive light, or there was just so much light coming from it that I couldn't see it. I don't know which one for sure, but there was something coming down from it, and it was slowly, and it was coming toward me. So I tried it even harder to move, and I heard voices, the voices of my parents off to one side, saying that everything was okay. But those voices had no emotion. And I looked in that direction, and I could just barely see two more gray blurs standing, or just off to one side. And I just knew that was not my parents.
But it was their voices.
It was their voices,
Oh
but
my
no
god.
emotion.
God.
And meanwhile, this thing is coming down from the ceiling, and it turns out to be some kind of a robotic arm, like extension thing, not like a human shaped one, just a robotic um, arm kind of thing. And of course, the worst nightmare is the usual. It has a needle at the end of it, and it comes down, and it is heading right for my left eye. And so I'm just trying to move, and I can't. And it all ends with this needle touching my left eye. And that's when everything went black, and then I woke up in my home. And I don't know for sure what that was, if it was aliens or not. I just know that it did not feel like, it felt real. It did not feel like a dream, a regular dream. And one other thing that happened after that, and I didn't realize this until talking with some friends one night in actually I think it was it was in the Troubled Minds Discord. And I think Derek was there, I believe. And I didn't realize this at the time, but not long after is when my eyes started to change, and I started having increased light sensitivity and eye strain. I used to be able to read books in print with reading glasses, no problem. And I could read them for as long as I wanted to. Never had a problem with that. I just needed special glasses that had really heavy magnification on them. And now I don't even read books in print anymore. It has to be audio. And it's slowly getting worse. And I didn't put the two pieces together at the time until talking with friends and realizing that event happened, and then the changes started happening. So, yeah, no, yeah. In the chat there, everyone wants you to come back. By the way, to talk about more experiences sometime. We're not limiting our time on tonight's show as well. Everyone, just so you all know. We're going to stay on for as long as Jeff wants to, but yeah, no, Dawn or PDG, I was that was about 10 years ago, so I was around 30, 31, 32. So, but
Man,
yeah,
that's
so that was my experience. So with that, you
you
can go
woke
ahead
up
with
right
yours.
as the thing was touching your eye.
Yeah, that's how I'm 99% sure that it was not just my imagination, because I felt it. Not
Right.
to even mention the surface beneath me was not my couch. So, yeah.
Oh my god.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm sure. Neat. Ugh. Good thing I mean. Ooh, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's that. Oh. So
Yeah.
mine has a little happier ending, I
Well,
think.
that's good. Those are always nice.
But yeah, that's intense, because like once you said robotic arm and needle, I was like, I was at the edge of my couch. I really was. I'm not even lying. I'm like, oh my god, are you serious with me right now? This is it. All that stuff, because I've heard similar things, where people like everything's like they're just blurry gray, things they can't quite see, can't move, and needles and just, oh my god, man, that's terrifying. That's terrifying.
Yep, it
So
was.
and then you had started having the worsening with your vision.
Yeah, yep. I just increased eye strain, like to where I what I do now is I spend like 2 hours or so with the blindfold on, and then I can spend 2 hours or so with it off, doing whatever I want or need to do, and then I just keep that up all day. And then some days I keep that blindfold on even more, so because I have to. So, but yeah, that's part of why the podcast schedule is the number of episodes I can do each week, and the schedule and all those different things. That's
Sure.
part of why
Um,
it has changed over the last few years since I started it.
you always
So
hear like a lot of like like where people like they have like his experiences where they're like they were upgrading me or this and that. In this case, they were like harming you for 100%.
that's
That's
what it seems like. It's whether they meant to or not. Of course, it's always hard to say. Um, but yeah, the end result was not good, and um, yeah. So I don't know what was going on there, but I've heard of I mean, weird as it sounds, I've heard of far worse experiences. And so it's not that I'm happy if that happened, but yeah, it's, and in the chat there, Derek says, Fae folk are sometimes associated with needles too, and abductions. The mechanical arm is different, but it could be through a modern prism too. And definitely, that's the thing. That's why I always say I don't know for sure what happened there. I just know what was presented, what whoever or whatever it was wanted it to appear to be, which was an alien abduction. But I don't know for sure that, what happened. So, yeah. Yep. But yeah, so, and also for anyone that listens to these shows, I would definitely recommend joining the Discord, because sometimes friends will share images on the screens of things associated with the shows, and Derek especially is really good at doing that, which is amazing considering he's actually working when he listens a lot of times. But he shared a picture there related to the topic. But yeah, so anyway, that's and it's odd because I mean, I've only ever had like maybe three. That's one of them. 3 negative experiences out of all of my other experiences, which are dozens,
I guess
hundreds or whatever now.
I didn't know you could do that. I'm gonna put a picture in there. This would be, I had my AI art thing try to do its best to just what I described, what I've seen with that UFO.
Okay.
And so that's the best that I could do without the flames. It's not. It wasn't like flaming like that, obviously, but that's what AI wanted to make, and it wouldn't do anything. So, but glowing this like that, like just imagine seeing that above you, and then all of a sudden, gone.
Yeah. Yep. And that's always amazing when they do that, because that's either super fast or that's some kind of a teleportation thing that leaves a trail still. I don't know. But yeah, either way.
I would love to know the technology and how kind of power are they using for that? You know what I'm saying? Like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, definitely. Yep. So, but yeah, we can go wherever you want to from here.
Well, I mean, what I can do is I guess I could just go into the other experience that I had was really significant. And okay, now this is not exactly 100% real or could have been a dream. I'm not, you know what I mean? I was pretty little, but it's literally stuck with me every single day of my life since then. Okay, so it's pretty profound. Like, it happened, like whether it was a dream or not, it was scary, like really bad. So, and it seemed, I didn't really ponder it as an alien thing until I was like later in life, and I'm like, shoot, maybe it was, like maybe there was aliens, like, possibly, or it was you know what I mean? So I guess I'll just get into it. I mean, unless you want a break or anything, or do you need a break, or?
I'm all good as long as you're good. So
No, I'm good. I'm good.
Okay.
All right. So yeah, no. So I would imagine I'm like 3 years old. So that's why it's a little sketchy. Like, believe me or not, or whatever. Like, if it was a dream or whatever, it happened. Whether it was, you know what I'm saying. Like, whether it was a dream or not. So, I okay. So I'm laying in bed sleeping. I'm like completely asleep. I've been sleeping for a while, and I was awakened to imagine laying on your back and having your legs apart a little bit, and then like something like stepping in between your legs, you know what I mean? And the pressure of that blanket, you know what I mean, going down. So that woke me up, and so I sat up. Okay. And to my horror were these two spider-looking tarantula things that were about the size of a small cat or a dog. You know what I mean? Like a small dog or a big cat or something like that. You know, they were like hairy, fuzzy, tarantula-looking spider things. I don't like. I didn't hang around, you know, like to like get a good look at them. Other than that, okay.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I did notice while I sat up, the one on the right was what in my my like brain when I was 3 years old. I thought that it was like a girl and a boy one because it had some kind of a bow or something on it, some kind of an
Mm.
emblem or something was on it, right? That
Right.
made me think that it was a girl. Like, and so I don't know why I thought that, but whatever. So, anyways, I sit up, I see these things, and I'm out of there. I'm like, okay, I'm out.
Yeah.
So I get out of my bed, which I can move, and I was able to move and everything, and like normal, right? But
Yeah.
I wasn't like I can remember it specifically. I wasn't like trying. I was scared, and I didn't want him to hurt me. So I was like just like trying to be like nonchalant about it, right? I'm like, I'm just gonna get out of here. You know what I mean? And so I get out of there, make it to my door, and as I'm like going through my doorway of my bedroom, I look back and I had like these. This is why I know I was really little, like probably 3 years old. I had footy pajamas on, okay, and I look back and to see them, and the one is behind me, and it's like gangly, like leg thing, like rubbed, like as it was walking, like stepped on my, like my foot, like how you would like accidentally step on somebody's foot, maybe as you're walking,
Hmm.
like it glanced on my foot like that, and I felt it, and I'm like, ah. So I sped up a little bit. So I go through this our den, so my bedroom through the den, and now we live in this A-frame house, and it's like if you're looking, like as the roof comes to a point, I'm going, the windows would be to my right. Okay. So like it's all windows like that point up.
Hmm.
And that my parents had a loft bedroom up there that kind of like looked out those windows, okay, across or whatever. And across like the living room. Anyways, so I go through the den, I'm scooting through the living room and to the stairs, and they had like this spiral staircase up to their loft because that's where I was going, like to my parents. I was scared out of my mind,
Right.
and so I get to the spiral staircase and I go up and I'm going around it and up, and I look at the like basically the archway, the doorway, or whatever you want to call it, from the denway into the living room, and there's two spiders was right there, but stopped at the thing at the doorway. And so I keep going around and I get up right to like basically where I'm in the middle of the spiral staircase and looking out the frame or A-frame, and there's this strobe light out there. I was thinking lightning, and I still, you know, for I guess a long time in my life thought lightning, but it was like a strobe light. There was no noise, there was no thunder,
Mm.
and it was just like a strobe, like flashing like white light. And I thought helicopter. My dad was in the military, and so I'd been to the area. Fort McCoy is a base around here and stuff like. So like I was there often. So I like right away I was, even when I was little, I was thinking helicopter. Rambo, all that stuff was like relevant. So I'm like helicopter, and this thing is like I don't know what it was, just light, and I'm like frozen and I'm scared. These things are down there, and it just like it. I don't know how to describe this really, but it like I was just told, but not told. I don't even know how to explain it. Like I can't really explain it. So, but I'm gonna try my best.
It's okay.
I was told to just go to my parents and everything will be okay, and don't speak of this.
Mm.
And I so I thought it was God in lightning. You know what I mean? I'm like,
Right.
okay, you know what I mean? I didn't think any, when I was little, I was like, okay, so that's what I did. I woke up and next to my parents, like on the floor, just I just crashed out on the floor next to him, scared out of my mind, and I woke up just fine, and the experience was over. So yeah,
Wow.
I'm scared of spiders.
I don't blame you after that. So the light outside, if that was a coincidence, then that's one heck of a coincidence.
Mm.
And I feel like I've heard of similar experiences where there's something going on inside the person's home where they're staying, and then there's something going on outside as well that is odd. And so the question then is, how are they connected? Is one somehow creating or manipulating the other? I don't know, but yeah, that is odd. I forgot that actually we talked in the voice chat a while back, and I forgot that you told me about that.
Oh
And
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
but yeah, that's and the light. I mean, lights are so often involved in a lot of these stories. These I said stories, but these accounts. I don't mean stories as made up, as that any regular listeners will know. Um, and so yeah, that's odd. And I mean, let me see here. So looking at the chat here, Derek says the strobe light aspect and the feeling that it feels kind of in between a solid memory and a dream. I wonder if there's an element of something astral, as an out of body, pulling out of body or something. Um, Also, the voice. I mean, the voice to me is just also amazing, and you hear that often as well. And the question for that, of course, always is not to say that it can't be um, the the person's own mind helping them out, but also if it's not, then who is it, and how do they know what's going on, and how are they speaking in a person's mind? So that is all. So that's three different things you have possibly going on there at the same
Yeah,
around the same time.
it felt like a command. You know what I mean? Like, but I guess when I was sitting there and I didn't talk about this until probably like I think 2009 maybe was the first time I ever spoke about it because people were talking about some weird stuff and I was like, all right, well, I got something weird. And it's bothered me because I think about that dream particular like every day of my life. There's not a day that goes by I've never thought about it. It was just like creepy. So that's why I think it's like I think it was. I hope it was a dream. Okay, but like I woke up. Okay,
Right.
that's what. That's why I'm like. That's why a lot. That's why it stuck with me. I think you know what I mean. Like I woke up and then experienced like it. That shit. Excuse me. That woke me up. Right. It
Yeah.
out of a dead sleep. I was sleeping and then I felt that step and then woke up and seen this horror. Like I was like, what the? I'm out. So and like I know I was young, but I still like feel like I knew what dreams were. You know what I mean? And
Oh yeah. Yeah.
like it was like I woke up though. You know what I mean? Like that happened. Even when I was little, I'm like that was like really scary. There's like some big spiders out here. So I'm like, I look around every corner. I go around, whatever,
Right.
especially. I'm
Yeah.
like, what is this?
I mean, dreams. In the dream world, that there's plenty of things that can happen also while you're there that are paranormal. I mean, half of my experiences have taken place while I've been asleep around there. Also, I don't know if you mentioned it or not. Was there any noise during when you saw the light outside? I think you said there was no noise.
No noise, because that's what. Okay, so that's why I thought all the things I was like, was that God? Like, what was that? Because it was it was flashing like lightning. You know what I mean? Like strobe light, like lightning would, or what I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But there was zero thunder noise, no thunder, and it was bright like lightning, and it was like out there, and it seemed like when I looked out there, then that there was like a light doing this. So I
Mm-hmm.
thought it was a helicopter. I was pretty sure that it was a helicopter. or
Right.
something. And I'm just like, I chalked it up to that. My dad's in the military. I'm like, whatever, like. But then that it wasn't like it was like a command, and I don't know how to, you know what I mean? I guess it's
Yeah.
just, it wasn't like a voice of a man or a woman or anything. It was like just like, do this. Like I was just like told this. I don't know how to, like, it was just in my brain. Like that's
Oh
what I
yeah.
had to do.
No, I had that the first time I saw the blue light, I sent out a thought to it because I could feel a presence, and I sent out hello, and I got a
Okay.
response back, and it was hello, but it was not sound, and it was in my mind, but it was so fast that it barely even registered as being a word because it was just hello. I knew what it was as it happened, but it was so fast that I almost missed it because it was just instant. And so yeah, I know what you mean there.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's quite the experience, and I don't. I also get what you mean about sort of wishing or hoping it was a dream, but it not be, because that's the way I felt about the experience I just told you about tonight. Is that I've for years I said I hope it was a dream, but I don't feel like it was. And now, just because of realizing the connection with um, the light, the eyes changing, now I just say, yeah, that was an experience. I just don't know what happened. So
Mhm.
um,
I've scratched my head, with mine too. Like what happened? Like, did you know, I wake up? You know what I mean? Like, let's look at it. Like, let's say it was an alien abduction. Like, did I wake up during it? Like they were gonna take me, but didn't, or did I wake up after it? I don't
right,
remember. You know what I mean? I would have nothing. I couldn't tell you about being on any ship or anything crazy like that. But
right,
I could tell you that I was really scared, and like it seemed really realistic. Like, you know what I mean?
oh yeah,
Yeah. Some
yep,
except for the bow on the girl one, that was a little bit weird. There was weird things. I was like, yeah, it's probably a dream, but then I was like, yeah, but I woke up. Like I was sleeping and I woke up, and it all happened when I was awake. I've
right,
never had a dream where I've been sleeping and I woke up and then I was like still dreaming. Like that's never happened to me, but maybe it happens. I don't know.
yeah. So that makes me think of a couple of things here from the chat here. That let me see, I just gotta find it real quick. Uh, PDG says they come to you in the form that is least traumatizing but most memorable. And I just the reason I bring that up is, and then of course, or abduction, and that was the memory they left you with. But the reason I bring that up is there are so many accounts of people who see things that seem to be weird like that, but also have details that are tailored to kids. Like they'll see things that appear to be almost like cartoonish or cartoons. Um, or like like you said, like with the idea of a bow, that's very much like a hey, this is a kid kind of thing. This is a girl. We want you to think that this is a girl. That kind of idea, that kind of detail there. So that is odd as well. So I wonder, I don't know. In a way, I sort of maybe the one good thing to take from this is maybe those, even though they appeared in like spider like, and they obviously had some kind of mask because they affected your clothes when you were get moving away. Maybe they weren't even really spiders, in that sense, or spider
Hmm.
like in that sense. Of course, that then you have to wonder though what did they actually look like?
Were they like good beings just trying to tell me that spiders are actually sketchy?
Could be, it could be. Um,
I thought, I know spiders are
yeah.
sketchy. I don't.
Um, Derek says the bow reminds me of a trickster, non-human logic. A bow to show it being a girl, like it's Pac-Man and Miss Pac-Man, as in the two figures there. Some weird trickster DMT Spider Archon thing. So yeah, it's just there's so many of these experiences people have where they're beyond just the fact that it's frightening. There seems to be things, messages, details that are whoever or whatever it is they're trying to put out there for you to notice. And then of course the hard part is figuring out why. And PDG in the chat says, I believe they do that not to scare you, and of course, good because you're okay. So, yeah, I don't know. It's really hard, and that is always difficult too with these kinds of experiences. It's totally understandable to be frightened of what happened. But also, like PDG says there, even though it's left a mark in your memory, in your mind, at least you are, it didn't physically harm you. So
right, they I thought that a lot because like I got away from them. Like I didn't, you know what I mean? Like they didn't harm me from that period forth or whatever, from when I woke up or whatever. Anyways, they like let me go to my parents basically,
right.
And the other thing, kind of, I guess, a command assured me that I would be okay. It said that everything will be okay. So like, and yeah, it was just creepy, super creepy. It could have been a very lucid dream when I was a small kid. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, that is odd.
but it just, I remember thinking like one day, like watching some alien abductions things, and I'm like, I remember thinking about that, like as I do every day, and I'm like, what did I get abducted by like some spider beings? Like that, like I don't know what,
Right. Yeah. No, it's hard to tell, and I mean I've heard there's a whole debate about um hypnosis as to whether or not that retrieves memories or creates false memories. I've heard all kinds of arguments on all sides of that on various shows, and so, but there do seem to be cases where people have experiences, but then they either through that or through just time, they remember more details years later, and that is also odd. So it does seem like sometimes things can happen and you don't remember them right away, if ever. Let me see. So Derek in the chat says, not going to read one of those comments there, Derek. I want to try to keep this fairly positive here. But there's a weird crossover with the abduction experience and astral realm, I think. A lot of them could be taking you from your body as well as from your room and then drop you back in both afterwards. And astral spiders are a thing, I think. Yeah, I've heard of astral and shadow and just all different kinds of figures being seen that are not just human, whether it's an astral form or a shadow form, which could also be an astral form as far as we know. And yeah, I've heard of the what was it? The abduction experience, and I've heard that as being one theory regarding the abductions is that it's not. It may feel, you may still have feelings, you may have sensations, but it's not a physical abduction. It's a metaphysical, if you want to put it that way, where they somehow take you out of your body and then put you back in. So then sort of a forced out of body experience. So that's also, again, that's horrifying, but also it makes me wonder about my experience. I mean, was I somehow in both places at once? Was I laying on my couch and but also not laying on my couch when that thing happened? So yeah, really odd. But
like, I don't know, like, yeah, and they're doing harm. I mean, I don't know. they gave me the ability to like lose stuff all the time, I guess. So that's
Oh,
I don't
really?
know, something. I guess something.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've always wondered like what could possibly have, even let's say let's take that Night Stalker aspect of it, like okay, an astral thing. Let's say they took me for that purpose, but what for? Like like what are types of things that they take people for, like for that? I wonder. I mean,
Right.
those are things I've always pondered. I mean, never the astral part of it, but like now that he said that, now I'm like, why? Why did they take me as a child? Like what?
That's one of the great things about Derek. He does make you think about things that you might not have thought about before.
Mm.
But yeah, well, I don't know if there's anything else you want to talk about, or if you want to
No,
end
that's
it
good.
here.
Yeah, that was good. No, I mean, I got other things we'll maybe save for another times. Yeah. So,
Sounds good. That'd be great to have you on. You're welcome whenever you want to, and we can go from there. So,
all
well,
right, man.
thank
Well,
you
thanks for
again
having me.
thank you again for sharing your experiences and yeah, you're always welcome to come back, and looking forward to talking to you again.
Yeah, thanks again. I mean, that's look up. That's all I could say is like look up, and that's the only way you see things, I guess. And I happened to be looking in the right place at the right time that one time, and um, just kind of changed my outlook. So yep.
Yeah. Yep. Well, you're welcome to mute up and sit there and listen, and I'll end the show here and we'll go from there.
All right, thanks again.
Thank you.
Yeah, peace out,
So
everybody.
yeah, great show. Everyone in the chat saying great show, and so yeah, so this has been amazing. I always love doing these shows with everyone, and appreciate everyone who volunteers to do this. And so yeah, that's just anyone that wants to do this to join me on the show is always welcome to be here with me and do one of these shows and cover whatever you want to, and stay on for as long as you're comfortable with, because I can tell you all from experience, talking about these experiences and sharing them, especially for our first time in certain settings, it can take some energy and some power to some sort of, it can have some kind of a toll on you when you're doing these things. So that's gonna do it. Thank you all for listening, and I will talk to you all on the next episode of Salsido Paranormal. And once I scroll up here to find everything, okay, there we go. Yep, take care, everyone. Talk to you next time.